Hello, this is Chelsea Wooten, and today I'm going to be discussing green logistics. When we think about supply chain, we evaluate the processes and find ways to cut corners, reduce costs, and make things more efficient, but at what cost to the environment? Today, I'm here to reveal information on environmental impacts, the use of non-renewable energy sources, the benefits of sustainability, and how to go green. Transportation is beneficial to our economy by getting products or people delivered from point A to point B. The downside is that 75% of carbon monoxide emissions is from on-road vehicles in the US, and 28% of greenhouse emission is from the transportation industry. This 28% is the largest contributor compared against others. That 28% of greenhouse emissions is warming up our Earth by heat getting trapped in the atmosphere, which is commonly known as global warming. Those emissions are primarily from burning fossil fuels for cars, trucks, ships, trains, and planes. And in addition to, since the 1900s, carbon emissions have grown almost 90% to 2010 globally, thanks to an increase in e-commerce. With the rise in online shopping and Amazon setting a standard of getting products delivered in 2 days, many businesses are changing how they do things in order to keep up and not get left behind. Last year, in 2018, 1.8 billion consumers shopped online, and online retail stores amounted to $2.8 trillion in sales. In the next 3 years, it's expected for sales to increase up to 4.8 trillion, and the numbers of consumers shopping online from 2018 to 2021 will increase by 20%. That is a lot of packages, and it requires an increase in transportation to be able to manage all those deliveries. Did you know that 81% of the U.S. energy we use comes from fossil fuels? Gasoline is the number one consumption used for cars, light trucks, boats, and some airplanes at 55%. The next big contributor is distillates at 22%, also commonly known as diesel fuel. The transportation industry primarily uses this energy source, including those of trucks, buses, trains, ships, and boats. And the last huge contributor is 12% of jet fuel. Food waste is the single largest material sent to landfills. The retail grocery sector is throwing out 133 billion pounds of food in the U.S. each year. 10% of that is from retailers before it reaches the consumer. This does not just consist of food, but product packaging. According to EPA in 2015, 77.9 million tons of packaging and containers ended up in landfills. This amount of waste has an impact on our landfills, which ultimately has an impact on our environment. One of the first effects is air pollution. Landfills consist of 2/3 of biodegradable organic matter. When it decomposes, it produces methane gas, which is 28 to 36 more potent than carbon dioxide and better at trapping heat in the atmosphere. The next is biodiversity impacts. The impacts of having a landfill affect species and plants. Just the development of a landfill will kill 30 to 300 species per hectare. Next one, groundwater pollution. When it rains, organic and inorganic matter mix. This forms toxic chemicals of ammonia, metals, and others into the ground. This water could contaminate groundwater, and if it makes its way towards the streams and oceans, it can kill aquatic life. The last one is soil fertility effects. Much of the same chemicals can mix into the soil, resulting in loss of vegetation. Achieving sustainable supply chains not only benefit the environment, but also the businesses, economy, and society. One, it builds better relationships, especially with the Environmental Compliance Agency. Another is it grows your network of customers, as green products appeal to customer values. It can also save the business money by deciding to recycle and reuse items. Another is sustainable processes will create efficient operations, and who doesn't want efficient operations? And lastly, the extra steps of recycling programs can also create jobs, including those who are disabled. Over the next few slides, I will be discussing how to be more sustainable. For starters, green purchasing. Some decision factors to keep in mind is how the product is being used in the manufacturing process, how clean the process is, the transportation method, and finally, the consumption of that product by the consumer. Determining what to purchase against competing products, always choose the one that will have lower effects on human health and the environment, but without compromising the quality of the product. A strong strategy when choosing a green product is choose recycled material that is recyclable again. For future engineering, I would like to see more packaging to be reusable, like the loop strategy that we learned about earlier in the semester. It would also be nice to see product packaging engineered to acquire another purpose, like the shipping box pictured. It turns into a hanger, so therefore the product received of a shirt can now be hung. Green production is not just about pollution and recycling. It is about every step of the process. Rethink the design process to use less material. Look at your waste and evaluate how much and where it goes. According to one of my sources, Eric Mackison says it best. You could have valuable commodities in your trash, and one example is cardboard. Cardboard equals money. Hear me out. For fast food restaurants, cardboard accounts for about 1/3 of their waste, but it's closer to 50% for many retailers. Instead of throwing away cardboard, bundle them up into bales and sell them. Reduce energy usage in warehouses and retail stores by investing in alternative energy sources like solar panels. IKEA just installed 8,966 solar panels for a facility just over 470,000 square feet. The amount of energy produced is eliminating approximately 2,000 tons of carbon dioxide emissions each year. UPS is another company who invested in solar panels, and the energy produced was enough to power 1,200 homes. A smaller change is to swap light bulbs out for compact fluorescent lights. Changing these bulbs are not just good for the environment, but will put a little over $30 back into your pocket for each bulb you change. These bulbs last 10 to 50 times longer, produce less heat, and use 75% less energy, which means you're not going to have to change them that often and reduces the waste of light bulbs in landfills. Did you know that if every American changed one bulb in their house, that would reduce 9 billion pounds of greenhouse gas emissions, which is the same as eliminating 8,000 cars from the road? How about that? Green transportation is a huge supplier of emissions, but it's usually unavoidable. So how can you make smart, environmental friendly decisions? For one, ensure your drivers check their tire pressures often. Driving with properly inflated tires increases gas mileage more than 3%, and every gallon of gas saved reduces 20 pounds of carbon dioxide. Another, increase the number of packages on a truckload. This reduces frequent use of transportation, maximizes your truckload, and the less often you use a truck, the more man hours you save and the more emissions you eliminate. And rethink rail. Rail transportation and make an effort to use it more. Choosing rail is 4 times more efficient than truck. According to CSX, a Class 1 railroad company, trains can move a ton of freight over 470 miles on 1 single gallon of gas. When compared that against trucks, they can only cover 134 miles. In the future, I would personally like to see technology spent in making vehicles more efficient and aerodynamic than autonomous trucks. The mileage per gallon for semi-trucks have not increased much over the years. And electric vehicles isn't really green because the energy source most likely comes from non-renewable energy. I drive a hybrid and get twice as many miles per gallon than my 1993 car. What would be the results if they incorporated hybrid technology into semi-trucks? What about solar panels on trucks' roofs? Highways are clear of trees and get full sunshine. Trucks could be energy efficient, increasing miles per gallon, but receiving reusable energy from braking and the sun. The last section that we're going to discuss on how to be more sustainable is green packaging. Green packaging may cost more than others, but the payoff would be worth it. According to a report in 2015 done by Nelson, who polled 30,000 people in 60 countries, 66% of global consumers say they're willing to pay more for sustainable brands. That is up 55% from 2014. And 73% of global millennials are willing to pay extra for sustainable offerings, and that is up from 50% in 2014. So there is a growing market for green packaging. And when considering what to ship your products in, choose packaging that is 100% recyclable. This usually contains 20% recycled material. The same would go for padded envelopes and mailers. And try to stay away from bubble mailer, as they are not recyclable. And opt for paper fill instead of package airbags or packing peanuts, because not all of these are recyclable or easy to recycle. And lastly, always choose the smallest box possible for each order. As it stands, our greenhouse gas emissions are up 90% since the 1900s. Transportation is the largest contributor at a 28%, with electricity falling closely behind. E-commerce is growing daily and expected to increase 20% by 2021, and sales will nearly double, affecting our use of transportation. Currently, the U.S. relies 81% of its energy sources on fossil fuels, and we as consumers and retailers throw too much food away into the landfills each year. 133 million pounds of food and 77.9 million tons of packaging. The choices we make and the way we live are having a negative impact on the environment, social, and economic divisions. We should be making sustainable efforts towards sustainable logistics. Start with locating critical issues. You cannot see the changes you are making without measuring what your current production, waste, and environmental impacts are. Review every department of supply chain, purchasing, production, transportation, and packaging. Set goals for yourself and the company to start reducing the impact, both short-term and long-term goals. Finally, collaborate with businesses. We are stronger together and can make a bigger impact together, making everyone responsible for each other, and it doesn't hurt to have a little bit of healthy competition. Thanks. I really hope you guys enjoyed this presentation and take something away from how to be more sustainable. Please leave any questions, comments under the discussion on D2L.